It is impossible to ignore just how beautiful this controller is. You plug it in and the whole thing comes to life with every button being RGB. The build quality is so good that it kind of defies what the terms entry-level controller mean. No, seriously, it's really good. They did the smart thing where the base of the knobs kind of flattens and tucks into the frame of the controller. And this results in the sturdiest knobs I've used in a controller. I own gear that's more expensive than this, but the build quality here is still better. And in this video, we're gonna have a look at why this might just be the most interesting controller of 2025. So let's get to it. Starting with the design, so it has this matte and very minimal finish. There's very few writings on the controller itself. The writings are on the buttons. The lighting actually glows through the button, and if you switch it off, then it kind of disappears and this whole thing becomes black like this. And then you switch it back on and all the stuff comes back on again. It's got 2 decks with a 2-channel mixer right here in the middle, and down here it has 8 performance pads with 4 performance modes. Basically everything is where it needs to be. And then here at the bottom, it has RGB lights, which are similar to the Z1 and the X1, which they released a while back. I actually have a dedicated video on those controllers, and you can check it out on the top right corner right now. The lights glow blue when a track is playing, and if you activate a loop, they turn green. And then when your track is about to end, they flash red, which is pretty nice. For headphones, you have options for both the 1/4 inch and the 3.5mm jack. And then at the back, you have the RCA for the speakers and a 3.5mm jack if you want to use that. For instance, right now the RCA is connected to my speakers, and then the audio jack is connected directly to the camera. That way you can get the audio directly from the controller to the camera, which is not something that we get in a lot of entry level controllers, which is pretty dope. I don't like that it needs to be plugged into the wall, but considering the amount of lights that it has, it kind of makes sense. But one thing that I am happy about is that Native Instruments has finally adopted USB-C, which, thank God. And then straight out of the box, it comes with the Pro version of TRAKTOR. So they give you a code and then you enter it and you own TRAKTOR Pro 4, and you can use it with any controller that you like, including this one, of course. Unlike a lot of controllers where you have to buy the controller and separately buy the Pro version of the software, which is ridiculous. And this is very cool because, and I've said this many times, TRAKTOR is the one DJ software that will give you the most creative freedom, and it's the most fun you'll ever have DJing. It's just that in recent years, it's become very, very niche, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, but it's still a very cool software. Now, what can you actually do with this controller? Well, it turns out a lot. Obviously, there's the normal controls like the play pause button, right? There's Q, 3-band EQ, the volume faders, tempo fader, etc., etc. What I want to have a look at though is the more unique features of this controller. So on either side of the deck, there's 2 buttons. There's 2 buttons here and 2 buttons here. And the first one we're going to have a look at is the one that says FLX. It's actually not flex like the Pioneer series. It stands for flux, and what it is, it's TRAKTOR's version of slip mode. So if you have it activated, you can, while the track is playing, you can scratch it, do whatever. It'll continue to play in the background so that when you stop what you're doing, the track goes back to where it would have been if you hadn't done that. I hope that makes sense. So if you do this, so essentially the track is continuing in the background, which can be useful. And then under it, there's a button that says Rev. And again, it's not the Pioneer series, Rev 5, Rev 7. It is actually a reverse button, and you can use it to like censor tracks. And what's nice is if you press it, then the flux mode activates automatically. So even if I activate it, so in case you want to censor a track, then you can press this button to do that, which is pretty dope. On the other side, there's TT and jog. TT stands for turntable, so this behaves kind of like a vinyl. So if the track is playing, it behaves like a vinyl. And then if you switch to jog, then it doesn't matter if you touch the top of the jog wheel. And then above the TT button, there's a track preview button. So if you press it, whatever track you're on here on the software will play on your headphones, and then you can use the browse knob to kind of like browse through the track moving forward and backwards, like this. So that is how it works. And then the button next to it just changes the view on the software. So if you press it, then it changes the view on the software. And then right under the jog wheel, there's two knobs on either side. So the one on the right helps you select the size of the loop that you want. Is it size? Whatever. So you can switch from 4 to 8, 16 to 32. And then the one on the left is a beat jump, and it'll skip however many beats you have selected on the one on the right. So if I have, let's say, 8 beats, do this, it skips 8 beats. And then if I switch to 32, and then it'll skip 32 beats with each turn, like that. And then between them, there's this button with a musical note, and what it is pitch lock. So if you're on Rekordbox, you might know it as master tempo. And this, let's say the track is playing and you do this or this, it helps the track maintain its pitch. Or if you change the speed of the track like this, it'll maintain the pitch of the track. However, if it's deactivated, then once you do this or this, the pitch of the track will go higher or lower depending on if you're slowing it down or speeding it up, like this. However, if it's on, then off again. On. And then moving on to the pad modes here. So the first one is hot cues, and you know what they do. So essentially you can use hot cues to jump to different parts of the track. Let me just do this. So if you press it, it helps you jump to that part of the track. You can use it for that or to mark certain parts of the track. And then to remove them, you press shift and then you press the same pads and they go away. This is probably the most common feature in every DJ controller. And then the second one is the stems here. So this will separate the track into the drum, bass, instruments, and vocals. But with TRAKTOR, it works kind of different. You don't just press this button and then you have access to the stems. You actually have to go within the software, right click on the track, and then click on generate stems. This will take a bit of time, which is much longer than every other DJ software that I've tried. But the upside here is that TRAKTOR will give you the cleanest stems of any DJ software that I've tried. So if the track is playing here, then you can isolate or mute parts of it like this. And then the bottom row of pads will allow you to change the filter and volume of the stems like this. So the left knob is for the volume and then the right one is for the filter. Again, creative freedom. And then next to the stems, we have pattern player. This is not something that I use a lot, but I can see how creative people can be with it. So this is where the knobs and buttons here on top come in. The first button is for playing / stopping the pattern, and then the middle ones are for scrolling either left or right on the samples. And then the last one is for ducking, which basically means side chaining. And then the knobs are for the volume, the population / density of the pattern, and then this one changes the pitch of the samples that you're using in the pattern, and then this one is for the decay of the samples that you're using. And then right here on the mixer is where you select if the pattern plays on this side or this side. So if I press the one on the left here and press play here, then the pattern plays, right? And then if, let's say, let me populate it again, and then play it, I can change the volume, the population, pitch, and the decay. And then the last one here is flux loop. So this is essentially a feature that allows you to loop the track, but as the name suggests, it's a flux mode. So you can loop the track, and then once you let go of the pad, the track goes back to where it would have been if you hadn't pressed that, like this. I mean, I didn't use it creatively, but you get the point. And then another feature that was nicely implemented on this controller is the effects section here. There's 4 effects that you can use here. It's actually 5 if you count the filter. And in each slot, you can choose in the software which effect you want to be there. The one that they give you by default are these ones. And of course, there's the filter. But the really nice thing here is that you don't have to be limited to, say, let's say you have 1 here, then it's 1 on either side. You can press 1 and then press effects here, and then press 4 and then press FX here. That way now you have filter 1 on the left and then filter 4 on the right, which is really, really cool. There's so much more to cover with this controller, but if I cover everything, this video is going to be way too long. But let me know in the comments if this is a controller that you would buy. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.